Thousands of species passed through the interstellar selection program every cycle. Warriors bred for strength, scholars engineered for brilliance, envoys sculpted for beauty. Each was evaluated, cataloged, and ranked. The program existed for one purpose: to pair elite non-human civilizations with rare humans whose emotional depth and unpredictability had become highly valued across the galaxy. Humans were scarce now, fragile, dangerous, fascinating. And she, Unit L-17, stood at the very back of the hall, her skin a muted shade of silver gray, her eyes lacking the bioluminescent glow so admired by the judges. Her species had once been useful as observers, quiet recorders of events, but usefulness faded quickly in the universe. Every cycle, her name was skipped. Every cycle, she remained. L-17 did not complain. She had been designed without vanity and trained to suppress longing. Still, she felt it, an ache she had no words for. To be seen, to be chosen, to matter to someone beyond the station's maintenance logs. Across the hall, the candidates straightened as the final human arrived. Ethan Hale. He looked ordinary by human standards. No enhancements, no neural crown, no ambassadorial markings. Yet the room shifted subtly when he entered, as if the air itself paid attention. Humans had that effect. Ethan had volunteered for the program after Earth's collapse, not for glory, but because staying behind felt like waiting to disappear. He had been told he could choose any companion species, strategists, protectors, even queens. But as the judges presented each candidate, something felt wrong. They showed him brilliance, power, beauty. None of it moved him. Next, Ethan said quietly, again and again. Murmurs rippled through the hall. A human refusing such offerings was unexpected. Finally, the lead adjudicator hesitated. "There is one remaining," it said, voice tinged with embarrassment. "Unit L-17. She has never been selected." L-17 lifted her head slowly. Her posture was perfect, her expression neutral. Inside, something fragile braced itself for rejection. Ethan's gaze drifted toward her and stopped. He didn't know why. She wasn't radiant. She wasn't imposing. But she stood alone, untouched by expectation, and something about that stillness felt familiar. "Why has no one chosen her?" he asked. The adjudicator hesitated. "She is forgettable. Her species lacks dominance traits. She excels at observation, emotional memory, long-term loyalty. These are considered inefficient." Ethan walked closer. L-17 met his eyes, prepared to be dismissed. Instead, he smiled. "You remember things?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "Everything, especially what is overlooked." Something in his chest tightened. He thought of Earth, of people lost not to war, but to indifference, of voices that faded because no one stopped to listen. "I choose her," Ethan said. The hall erupted in confusion. "You cannot be serious," the adjudicator protested. "You are permitted any." "I know," Ethan interrupted. "That's why I'm choosing her." L-17 froze. Chosen. The word felt unreal, like a sound from another life. The pairing was approved under protest, and within days, Ethan and L-17 were transferred to a remote observation world on the edge of known space. It was quiet there, endless skies, low gravity, and ancient ruins left by a civilization long forgotten. At first, they barely spoke. Ethan explored. L-17 observed. But slowly, he began asking her questions, not for data, but for perspective. What she noticed, what she remembered, what patterns others ignored. She told him stories of candidates who stood tall but crumbled under pressure, of leaders who shone brightly but vanished just as fast. Of cycles repeating because no one remembered the small details. Ethan listened. No one ever had. Over time, he realized something unsettling. 17 wasn't forgettable. She was essential. When storms came, she predicted them before sensors reacted. When ruins shifted, she knew which stones would fall. When Ethan grew quiet with grief he thought long buried, she didn't interrupt or try to fix him. She simply stayed. "You see me," he said one night beneath a sky filled with fractured stars. "Yes," she answered. "I always have." Years passed. Their world became a sanctuary, a place where observation became wisdom and quiet became strength. Reports from the wider galaxy began to change. Conflicts were avoided using insights 17 provided. Civilization stabilized by learning what had been overlooked before. The Interstellar Council took notice. They summoned Ethan back, requesting his return and offering him a place among the elite. He refused. "They want me," he told 17, "not us." She processed this in silence, then said softly, "I was designed to be left behind." Ethan shook his head. "You were designed to be remembered. They just didn't know it yet." When the council arrived unannounced, expecting compliance, they found something unexpected, a thriving world built not on dominance, but understanding. Not on brilliance, but attention. And at its center stood the human who had chosen what everyone else forgot. 17 was no longer a unit. She had a name now, given to her by Ethan, spoken often, carefully, as if it mattered. Because it did. When history recorded the turning point that saved dozens of civilizations, it did not list the strongest or the loudest. It recorded a simple truth. That one human looked at what the universe ignored and chose her. And because of that choice, nothing was ever forgotten again. The Interstellar Council's ships lingered in orbit for 3 days, their silver hulls reflecting the quiet world below. They sent no demands after that. No ultimatums. Only silence. For the first time in her existence, 17 felt no fear of being erased. Ethan stood beside her at the edge of the ruins, watching the sky as the council fleet finally turned away. The universe had expected him to return alone, to accept power, recognition, and a place among legends. Instead, he stayed exactly where he was meant to be. "With you," he said simply. 17 processed those words for a long moment. Then she did something no protocol had prepared her for. She reached for his hand. Her touch was steady, certain. Not hesitant. Not asking permission. "I was always designed to observe," she said quietly. "To remember what others forgot. But I never believed someone would remember me." Ethan squeezed her hand. "I didn't choose you because you were overlooked," he said. "I chose you because you saw everything they couldn't, including me." The world they had built together continued to grow, not as an empire, but as a refuge. Travelers arrived seeking answers, peace, or simply a place where they were not judged by brightness or strength. 17 welcomed them all, listening, remembering their stories when no one else would. And the galaxy began to change. Slowly, quietly. Records were rewritten. Selection protocols were revised. Traits once dismissed as weak, patience, memory, empathy, were reclassified as essential. Entire civilizations learned that survival did not always belong to the loudest voice, but to the one that listened longest. In time, historians would debate what truly altered the course of interstellar history. Some would credit the human who refused to conform. Others would point to the forgotten observer who became the foundation of a new way forward. But those who truly understood knew the truth was simpler than that. Everything changed the moment a human looked past perfection, past power, past expectation, and chose the one everyone else forgot. And for the first time in the endless history of the stars, she was forgotten no more.